So my name is Sarah. I am a singer and a music artist, and I also do spiritual transformational coaching as well, which involves a lot of the soul rescue work that I've learned from Terry and Natalia. I was kind of thrown into this work, I would say, in that my spiritual and mediumship abilities just suddenly kind of opened up, and suddenly I could just pick up on everything, good and bad. And I just needed to learn how to control it and how to understand it and how to keep myself protected. And I always knew it was a gift, but sometimes it didn't necessarily feel that way. So it was kind of learning how to turn it into a gift and use it for everything that I'm here to do. I think that when you just are born with something, you just think that that's how it is. You don't really question it. So I had a lot of experiences when I was younger. But it was only when I went to a class which was specifically about opening up your mediumship that I realized I'd been doing this my whole life anyway. And I was like, oh, that's what that is. And that's why I had this experience, and that experience, it kind of explained a lot to me. But also it was almost like a switch, and then it just like opened up everything. So yeah, and I guess that particular first class I went to was the teacher was not particularly great at teaching us how to protect ourselves and sort of teaching us all of the kind of elements that need to be brought into mind when we're doing this kind of work, which is eventually how I found Terry and Soul Rescue, because I just needed a better framework for what I was doing. I lived in a house that was very haunted, so I was constantly feeling uncomfortable, and like there were things around me, or like I had to kind of stay very quiet within myself, because I could feel these very dominating kind of energies around me in the house that I grew up in. So that was kind of always there. But like I say, it was always just in me. So I never really questioned it. I'd also have experiences where I'd just like be at school and I'd look across the classroom at somebody and think a really random thought that was like nothing to do with me. And I'd be like, oh my God, did I just think their thoughts? Like strange things like that. And I think that you naturally just have, when you're, when you're psychic and a medium, you have a natural kind of empathy for everybody. So you kind of automatically take on everybody else's feelings. And again, as a child, I guess you just assume that's just you. But when you start to kind of develop, you kind of realize that you're taking on everybody else's emotions and everybody else's feelings. There was one other experience where I remember really, really vividly being asleep and being visited by this spirit that I could actually see. Because usually I could just feel them, but this one I could see as this kind of really huge expanding light in the corner of the room, and I was just petrified and like hiding under my covers and just being like, what on earth is this, but then of course you wake up the next day and you forget, or somebody tells you, oh, you probably just dreamt it, or whatever. So it took me a while to figure out what was going on. God, I mean, I've learned so much from this class. It's just it would take me probably 10 hours to tell you how much I've learned from doing this class. But so many things. And a lot of things that have become natural now. So, just protecting your energy when you're like with a person that doesn't particularly have a very nice energy. You just sort of, I think I naturally just know exactly what to do to kind of pull my energy back and protect myself, or going into places where the energy is not pleasant. I think it probably happens for everybody, but in the music industry for sure, there's a lot of darkness and big egos as well, which always is tricky to deal with. And and performing as well. You end up performing in the craziest places and the craziest spaces. So it's been really valuable to learn how to protect myself from the energy wherever I am. And I think that's what this work has really, really taught me is how to know who I am, so that when I pick up someone else's energy, I know that I'm not being myself, and I know that something's up. So it kind of creates this really strong understanding of yourself, and yeah, it was kind of my opening the gates towards kind of being empowered and being empowered within myself and who I am. The thing I learned most with the ancestral stuff is that we can be affected by ancestors up to 7 generations back, which is a huge amount of people and a huge amount of different energies. And there's a lot to deal with there. And because we've kind of been born into this ancestral line and grown up with it, and it's been with us forever, it's really, really hard to see the difference between what's me and what's them. So the most valuable thing was learning how to see that and how to heal that. The biggest one I remember, which has completely changed my life, is I was always very, very kind of into business, and I had my own business, and I was very money driven and very kind of success driven, and which is a great quality to have, but it felt like a very masculine, now I look back at it, a very masculine and kind of, I don't know, less enlightened way of being, I guess. But anyway, I was very, very into this kind of business side. And then one day, as I started doing more and more of this work and getting to know who I really am, I started getting this kind of yearning and calling to be creative. And then my business side was just like, why would you bother doing that? What a waste of time. You're not going to earn any money doing that. But this creative part of me was like, no, this is like something we have to do. And as I kind of tuned into and started listening to that and started, like, I gave myself creative Fridays, and on Friday I was just going to be creative and not work on my business. I really felt my ancestors just going crazy with trying to control and being like, no, what are you doing? What are you doing? You've got to keep on this path. We've built this business with you. And like, it was the most controlling energy once I started seeing it and stepping away from it, because it had just been my life for so long and I'd been in it. But once I started to sort of step away, I realized how controlling it was. And it took a lot of work and a lot of clearing, probably for about a year, of just like constant shifting different traumas within my ancestors, and cutting ties with certain ones that were really, really kind of trying to hold the reins. And eventually my creative side kind of won, and I started writing songs, and that's what led me to meet my now partner, and it's led me across the other side of the world, and now I live in America, and I'm writing music and creating music, and it's brought out this whole much more feminine side to me, and really a much more empowered and much more authentic side to me that I know I would never have found if I hadn't have done that work. So it's been huge. And then the next thing is that the person that I fell in love with was a woman, which obviously my ancestors were not into the idea, because they come from a different time when their beliefs were different. And so that was the next thing that just required layer after layer after layer of ancestral healing. And it took a long time to kind of release myself from all of their kind of issues around it. But again, once I'd done the work, which was painful and hard and long, I just feel like now I'm in a complete place of absolute peace with it. So I think, and I just think, God, if I'd listened to those voices, I wouldn't be as happy as I am today. And that just makes me feel like so many people in this world don't understand this work and will make decisions based on that and not live the life that they're meant to live. And it's really quite sad to think that if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't be in this position now. So I'm really, really grateful for the work. And yeah, just really can see how trapping it can be sometimes to be living in your ancestral kind of, in the grasps of your ancestors. Yeah, it's hard to be yourself. I think they made it clear in various ways. A lot of like dreams, they would come to me when I was trying to sleep. And what else? Yeah, just certain blocks as well I'd have to overcome, because I feel like ancestors are so powerful. You know, they can really kind of, not only can they kind of create stuff within the world around you, but they really can get inside you and your feelings and trigger your kind of weakest points and all your anxieties and things like that. So it was just like a real battle with anxiety and yeah, a battle with all of my kind of my own stuff too. Like it's like they triggered all my own sort of human stuff to kind of stop me from moving into the direction that I needed to go in. Yeah, I have told them, I mean, I don't tell them in like the greatest detail, but I have told them that I do the work. And I mean, I don't know whether they would say they've felt a shift, but I notice a shift in them when I do certain things. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of anxiety was another thing that was a trait that I traced back in all of, you know, a massive long line of ancestors, and I can definitely see a shift in all of my siblings since I've done that. They don't seem to be as affected so much by the anxiety anymore. Well, my band is called Unsung Lilly, and when I was just starting to do the band and going through all this ancestral stuff, I was trying to find like, where do I get this creative side from? Because it must come from somewhere in my ancestors. And I found out that my great grandmother was called Lily, and she was really, really creative. She was like an artist and a musician, I think, and a writer, and she did all sorts of creative work. And she loved, you know, that was just every part of her being, you know, she loved it, but she didn't really get to express it because as women in those days, you know, didn't get to do really what they necessarily were called to do. She was a wife and a mother, and dedicated her whole life to that. But then one day she found her husband cheating on her, and she actually died of an asthma attack. And people say she died of a broken heart. And when I heard that story, I was just like, wow, what a great name for the band. You know, I'm doing this, I'm on this kind of creative journey because I'm being kind of really called into it, and what an amazing sort of testimony to her, and kind of a legacy that involves her as well, and that creative side. So, and then when I started looking into that, I can see, you know, in her line from her downwards, there's creativity in all of the women that came after her. So yeah, that definitely comes from them too. I mean, it's a world that's so complex, and I don't think I'll ever really completely understand it. And I think, you know, we can only just learn and learn and learn and grow and grow. And I think it's just so important to be open to this side of life, because it just explains so much. Like when I think back to when I didn't understand it, it was just, you know, when you're feeling other people's feelings or feeling these pulls from your ancestors or your past lives and all these kind of, it's like a big mixing pot of emotions. And to know who you really are in your truth and in your spirit, and to know what's your ancestors and what's your past lives and what's your other people in your life that you're picking up on, it's just the most powerful thing. And I really think that if you're interested in walking the path that you're meant to, and living the most, you know, living the biggest possibilities of your life, and living your destiny that you're, and living your purpose that you're here to do, I just think it's the most important thing to be able to understand all of the different parts of you and all of the different influences that you have to deal with. It's just, yeah, it's like gold. You have to do it. It's so important.